All right, let's just dive right into this explainer because what we're about to cover is going to completely change how you look at a calorie. For the longest time, we've been taught this really simple kind of rigid equation, right? Energy in, energy out. We treat our daily calorie target like it's this strict financial budget, assuming that as long as we stay under that magic number, hey, we're doing just fine. But what if I told you that focusing strictly on just the raw number of calories is actually making healthy eating so much harder than it needs to be?
To figure out why, we have to stop and ask a pretty fundamental question. What do 500 calories actually look like? We tend to assume all calories are created equal. A calorie is a calorie, right? Well, not exactly. 500 calories can look completely different depending on the specific foods you decide to put on your plate. Because it's not just a number on an app. It's a physical volume of food that your digestive system actually has to process.
To really illustrate this illusion, picture a single, pretty modest slice of cheesecake. Now, on the flip side, for that exact same 500-calorie cost, you could sit down to a massive, nutrient-dense feast. We're talking a small steak, a generous serving of sweet potatoes, large shrimp, and a huge vegetable salad. One of these is going to leave you looking for a snack 5 minutes later, and the other is going to leave you completely satisfied for hours.
And you know, the illusion gets even crazier when foods actually weigh about the same. If you hold a standard candy bar in one hand and a whole banana in the other, their physical weight isn't really all that different, but their calorie counts? They are worlds apart, purely because of what they're made of. The candy bar packs a massive, concentrated amount of energy into that small package, while the banana is just loaded with water and fiber. This difference in food makeup has an absolutely massive impact on how much we actually eat in a day. In fact, a really well-known clinical trial led by the National Institutes of Health found something wild. They showed that people eating an unprocessed, whole food diet actually consumed 57% more food by weight. And get this, they did that while maintaining a significantly lower overall calorie intake compared to people eating ultra-processed foods. So they were literally eating more food, but taking in fewer calories. So let's move into section 1, the science of fullness and why volume matters. Because what's really fascinating here is the science behind why our bodies react so dramatically differently to identical calorie counts. Why does the cheesecake leave us starving, while the steak and sweet potato plate makes us want to push back from the table and say, I'm stuffed?
Picture the internal reality here. 500 calories of pure oil or processed fats, it barely even registers in the bottom of your stomach. It's just a tiny puddle. But 500 calories of fruits and veggies, because of all that naturally occurring water and fiber, they completely fill the stomach cavity up. And that physical stretching of the stomach is absolutely vital.
So the crucial point here is understanding calorie density. This is simply a measure of how many calories are in a given weight of food. Understanding this is a major diet superpower. Actually, scratch that, it's more like a cheat code. Realizing that low-density foods give you significantly more volume and fullness for a fraction of the calories allows you to eat a huge amount of food without ever blowing past your energy budget.
And this all triggers a really fascinating biological chain reaction when you eat. Because fullness isn't just a state of mind, right? It's a physiological process. First, the mechanical act of chewing sends signals directly to your brain. Then, as those low-density foods physically stretch your stomach, it activates your vagus nerve. Finally, your gut releases these powerful satiety hormones, like GLP-1 and PYY, which literally yell at your brain to stop eating because, well, you're full.
Let's break down the mechanics behind this density. Fats are incredibly energy-dense heavy hitters at 9 kilocalories per gram. Carbohydrates and proteins, they sit right in the middle at 4. But look at dietary fiber down there at roughly 2 kilocalories per gram. Foods that are packed with fiber provide this incredible volume. They engage all those fullness signals we just talked about, but they don't overload your daily energy intake.
Which brings us to section 2, liquid versus solid calories and the fiber paradox. Because physical volume isn't the only thing that matters here. The actual physical state of your food, whether it's solid or liquid, can hack this entire biological signaling process in ways you probably wouldn't expect. And this is what researchers call the fiber paradox. You know, you might think a blended fruit smoothie is exactly as good as eating a whole fruit. The nutrition label looks identical, right? But blending completely pulverizes the physical structure of the fiber. In a whole piece of fruit, that intact fiber mesh acts like a physical barrier in your gut, slowing down the absorption of carbohydrates. In a smoothie, that protective barrier is totally destroyed.
So without that fiber mesh slowing things down, you experience what's called fast gastric emptying. Liquid calories just slide right past your digestive checkpoints so incredibly fast
that your brain's fullness centers barely even register them. You get this sharp, rapid spike in blood sugar, which is inevitably followed by a crash, leaving you feeling absolutely starving just a short time later, even though you just drank hundreds of calories. Moving right along to Section 3, the whole food advantage and prioritizing nutrition. Because choosing foods in their natural, intact state isn't just about getting your daily vitamins. It is the ultimate, undeniable advantage for regulating your daily energy and keeping your appetite in check.
Ultra-processed foods, or UPFs, can be incredibly deceiving. They're often artificially fortified with high vitamins, which gives them this health halo, but they totally hijack your system by delivering a massive calorie load with almost zero volume. Whole foods, on the other hand, digest slowly. They force a really healthy competition between getting the micronutrients you need and the energy you consume.
Researchers have this great term for it: micronutrient deleveraging. Simply put, it means that when we humans are given natural, unprocessed options, our bodies instinctively prioritize nutrition. We load up on the good stuff, micronutrient-rich foods like fruits and vegetables, and we naturally just reduce our intake of empty, energy-dense calories. We literally eat our way to a balanced diet without even trying that hard.
I absolutely love this quote from Professor Jeff Brunstrom because it proves such a vital point. Our dietary choices aren't just random. We actually have this inbuilt nutritional intelligence. We naturally balance our enjoyment and our fullness perfectly, provided we actually give our bodies the right raw materials in their natural state.
And that brings us to Section 4, Information, Not Guilt, Empowering Choices. This right here is the absolute most important mindset shift we can make today regarding our daily meals. We have to stop looking at food as something to fear.
When you use nutrition tracking tools, whether it's Lose It, Macros First, whatever you like, it should never, ever be about restriction or punishing yourself. They're there to provide data, not a guilt trip. They let you see your macronutrient breakdowns in real time. That feedback helps you make tweaks to build satisfying, high-volume plates packed with protein and fiber, while still, purposefully, making room for the treats you actually love. So the crucial takeaway from all of this is simply this: calories are information. They are not guilt. No food is inherently bad. A slice of cheesecake or a bag of chips, they can absolutely fit into your week. But understanding calorie density is a powerful tool. It helps you make informed, empowering choices about how you fill your stomach most of the time.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought. Next time you sit down and look at your plate, don't just ask how many calories are on it. Ask yourself, what is this food actually telling my body? Is it going to bypass my digestive checkpoints and send a rapid, crashing spike of energy? Or will it physically stretch my stomach, trigger my satiety hormones, and send a slow, steady signal of fullness that truly fuels my entire day? The choice is entirely yours.